Hello everyone, this is Luis Rojas-Solórzano. I am the director of the PhD in Science, Engineering and Technology program at Nazarbayev University. With this introduction, I would like to welcome the series of videos in which I will have interview with peers and colleagues on the scientific method. We will be talking about the research, their problem, hypothesis, methodology, results, and future work. And also, of course, they will give us some hints about what a good researcher should be. With this, I would like to start the first episode with our PhD candidate, Veronika Dashkova, which will be shortly with us in our next video. Hi, Veronika. Thank you for coming to this series. And I would like to start asking you about your background and what brought you here to do the PhD.
So the moment I was actually thinking where to go to do my PhD, I had several options. I had options to go to abroad to study in the some other international universities. But I chose to stay here in Kazakhstan and to do my PhD at Nazarbayev University because there are my professors that I worked before with, Professor Natalie Borteneva and Professor Ivan Varabyov. They work here. And also, the second motivation or the important aspect is that Nazarbayev University is a very well-equipped university, and it has all the facilities that I need to have in my research. Because in my research, I use specific instruments, and they all the university has them all here. So I guess that was the main motivation.
Great. And what is the research question you are trying to address?
I'm studying phytoplankton communities in the lakes in Kazakhstan, and for that we are also using novel methods such as flow cytometry and imaging flow cytometry. So basically, this work consists of two steps or two different parts. So the first part is the methodological part, as we are applying new methods, and we trying to advance these methods in application to phytoplankton studies. And the second aspect is the ecological questions, which is also very important. We're studying whether phytoplankton community is affected by the environmental parameters and how they are affected, such as like salinity, temperature.
So can you say that this problem is already addressed by other researchers in the world, but they have not completed to answer that question? So in that part, my question is, what has been done at that particular problem?
So basically, if we're talking about Kazakhstan, we like research on lakes in general. And I think this kind of research hasn't been done in Kazakhstan before in terms of the studying phytoplankton on that scale, because I'm studying very important endorheic lakes such as Lake Balkhash, such as Aral Sea. So endorheic lakes means they're just closed basins. They're enclosed in the middle of the continent, and they don't have any connection with the oceans. So they will be very susceptible to any kind of climate change impacts or pollution.
I see.
Yeah.
And what is the methodology you plan to run to test the hypothesis in your problem?
So along with using traditional microscopes, we are trying to apply new methods that already they've been used in the world in general. People are applying these methods to study phytoplankton. However, in Kazakhstan, we haven't done this yet, and so we're trying to apply these methods and also develop new methods like spectral flow cytometry and apply them to study phytoplankton.
And so far, I know you have done part of your work even internationally.
Yes.
And part in Kazakhstan.
Yes.
What have you obtained so far?
Yeah. So in Kazakhstan, we completed several years of research on Lake Balkhash. We like this lake, and we go there every year, several times. So we see some correlation because Lake Balkhash is a polluted lake. There's a pollution going on, and we actually see some correlation between phytoplankton structure and some pollutants, some like heavy metal pollutants in Lake Balkhash. In Lake Aral, we also see some dependency, correlation between phytoplankton structure and, for example, salinity, which is important for Aral Sea, because you know that it's a drying lake now, and the salinity increased significantly in recent years. So obviously the phytoplankton communities will be adapting to that salinity levels. And in terms of the international work, I also work with my international co-supervisor, Professor Erik Jeppesen from Aarhus University in Denmark. And yes, they have an experimental setup to study lakes and to study impact of climate change to the lakes. So basically it's called mesocosms. They have this mesocosm facilities. They've been running from 2003. Yes, and what we're doing is we're trying to study how phytoplankton reacts to different temperature settings and to different nutrient input like nitrogen or phosphorus. And so we actually found that there is a certain response in phytoplankton communities to variation, for example, in nitrogen load. That's actually the nitrogen load was studied in this part of the period that I'm participating.
So you are now a third year PhD candidate.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the next part of your work before you wrap up and defend the thesis?
Yeah.
Is completing the experiments? What would you say is
yes,
the final part?
I guess it's a more statistical analysis. So I have already collected data, the field data, and I just need to analyze them to sort of to see what's going on. It's like a final check, and because it's very difficult. The systems are very complex, and there are many factors that you need to consider. It's not like you are in the experiment and you only have one parameter or two parameters. You have I don't know, tens, not even like thousands parameters. So basically now my goal is to identify which of those parameters are actually important for phytoplankton.
And what do you think will be the impact in the region after you finish your PhD? What is your expectation?
This work is important in general because it's the knowledge. It's the knowledge about the lake ecosystems that can be used in conservation of lakes. It can be also used to predict future climate change impacts on the lakes and on the ecosystems, and also mitigate risks of climate change. Or other anthropogenic, for example, pollution.
Yeah, Veronika, as you know, the daily work of a PhD candidate, student or candidate in your case, is quite demanding. What motivates you to come every day with energy to keep working and trying to find the answer to the question of your research?
Yeah, it's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy, of course. PhD study is a long journey, and yes, you need to be motivated. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days, but I guess the main motivation is that I think my research is very important, and I really want to contribute to the field, to this field of knowledge, and I think it's really important for my community, for Kazakhstan, and also important for international scientific communities, because we, in future and in general, we have similar problems we cope with, you know. So it doesn't matter which lake it is. It can be used. The similar approach can be used to study it, and similar conclusions can be extrapolated to other lakes in the world.
And now for those young students in high school or even in the university that are planning to come for a PhD, what would you say is your recommendation for them, or what do you think is the ideal profile of the person who should embrace in a PhD?
Yes, it's because it's really not easy to do it, and you need to be highly motivated. So you need to understand that this is what you want to do, and I think you just need to be highly motivated and understand all the not the risks, but the problems that you can face in the future. But in general, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting long journey. And yes, if a person is really ambitious and really wants to contribute and do something useful, and I think that's the way. Yes, you need to do a PhD.
Thank you, Veronika, for your time and your thoughts and your ideas.
Yes, thank you, Lewis, for inviting me.